This episode of RSR is brought to you by iZotope, Native Instruments, SAE Institute, Spectra 1964, and Grace Design. These are tools that I use every day in my studio, from the Spectra 1964, STX 600, 100, and 100D, and Native Instruments Complete 15, to iZotope Ozone and RX, and the central hub for my studio, the Grace Design M701 audio interface. Follow the sponsor links in the show notes. Grab my free mixing course at mixmasterbundle.com, and remember to like this video and subscribe on YouTube because it's a great way to help support this show. Now, get ready to rock.
Mindset, you have to believe that you can, because you have to believe that your music is worth hearing in major TV shows and commercials, and that you have something you can contribute. If you don't, then you will self-sabotage and you'll work against yourself.
Welcome to Recording Studio Rockstars. I'm Lyd Shaw, and this is the podcast created to help you become a rock star of the recording studio. Native Instruments now brings you Complete 26 with powerful instruments, synthesizers, and creative tools to help you make music faster and stay inspired. The legendary Absynth 6 is back with evolving textures and experimental sounds, while Contact 8 gives you the tools for chords, phrases, and arrangement right inside your workflow. With Massive X Guitar Rig 7 Pro, session guitarist instruments, and premium tools from iZotope and Brainworks, Complete 26 gives you everything you need to create in any genre. Go to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Howdy, rock stars. It's your host, Lyd Shaw, and welcome back to Recording Studio Rockstars, bringing you into the studio to learn from recording professionals so that you can make your best record ever and be a rock star of the studio yourself. My guest today is Mike Meiers, a songwriter, producer, and guitarist based in Nashville, whose music has been featured on Netflix, NBC, Hulu, Target, Showtime, MTV, and beyond. He blends sharp guitar work with a producer's ear for songs that resonate on screen and in sync. As the founder of Songwriting for Guitar, Mike has guided hundreds of songwriters and producers in refining their craft, landing sync placements, and building sustainable music careers. He's passionate about showing that success in music today isn't about chasing labels, it's about sharpening skills, building relationships, and creating opportunities in the growing world of TV, film, and media licensing. Please welcome Mike Meiers back to Recording Studio Rockstars. Mike, are you ready to rock? Dude?
I am so ready to be here, man. I'm so pumped to be here.
Glad to have you here, dude. You know, the last time we did this, it was just audio only, and now we're in the video world, which is pretty exciting.
What's crazy is I looked back to when I first heard of you. Because as I was driving over here, I was like, when was the first time I heard of this podcast and Lyd? And I was like, 2017, man. It was an interview with Will from Cartel. My friend Jed sent that over. Yeah. And I was like, how crazy. That's when I first heard of you, like in the world, and like how long you've been. Was
that Will Pugh?
Yeah. And it was just, and I listened to the episode again. I was like, that was a really good episode.
He was great.
Yeah.
Man. He was great. I specifically remember some of this stuff that he talked about. For example, one of the details was getting the band ready to do tracking in the studio. So like making sure the song was dialed in before they even started playing.
Yeah.
And it was like, he said he'd get the band, leave your instruments. So there was, I think this was his point too, was separating the figuring out from the we're rolling now. So instead of having the band, instead of figuring out how you're going to play the song when you're all at your instruments, go into the control room and air guitar.
Yeah.
You know, or have a guitar or something that's not plugged in, an electric or something really simplified. And like where everybody can talk and you're in a little huddle and the drummer's just like, you know, slapping legs like.
It's more manageable because you're not you're not inclined to noodle away, but it's like you're really thinking intently about the part that you're going to play.
Yeah, and you're not like blowing up the sound in your headsets and your earphones and like, wearing yourself out. And then it means, then it's like when everybody's on the same page with stuff. And plus it's a lot easier to hear if the little foot on the ground or like the hand hitting the thigh snare is actually lining up right with the vocal or something right there in the control room than it is when everybody's full blast. Everybody can it's at
talkable level. And it's not like, as you said, like have to scream over everyone. But I remember that episode because that was probably into my production journey. And so hearing like someone talk in a songwriting basis too, like foundational, I was like, oh, okay, I can get into this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about let's do a slight recap on the stuff that you do. So you are, of course, we've done an interview before. We've kind of done your background, but the reiteration would be like, you're writing songs a lot. You're very intentional about writing too. You're a writer in Nashville who's interested in these songs having a life of their own and getting placements and, working for other artists and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And then as part of that, you created songwriting for guitar, which is like, it's pretty clear what that's for, right?
It's one of those things, not a clever title where it's just straightforward. It is what it is. It's helping songwriters understand that their guitar can be a conduit to unlock great songs. Because, we think melody, lyrics, which are wonderful, but the guitar is the tool that you can actually use to enhance all of your melody, your lyrics, because it's all emotion.
Yeah.
It's like that. Why do we write a song? We want someone to feel something. And usually we're thinking about that on the lyric and the melodic front. But the chords, the voicings, how you lay it out need to be in sync with those things. If it's not, that's where you feel like it's detached.
Yeah. Well, the guitar also, I mean, let's be honest, there's an element of the guitar and, rock and roll where it's like, it's the one thing you can, well, I guess bass is like this too, but guitar and bass, stringed instruments is something you get, it's literally, it's kind of literally slung down like a giant phallus or something. It's like you get to carry this big thing around on stage and it's like this, it's in the words of, who's the manager in Spinal Tap? He's like, it's totemistic. It's totemistic. You have this big
Nigel.
object.
No, not Nigel. That was Nigel Tuff.
It'll come to me.
I know it's going to take.
I'll Google. I have the power of Google while we're doing this. But I'm just thinking about this out loud. I'm just riffing. But singers, you get the power of the emotion. You get to sing the lyrics. Everybody's, what you're singing and what you're saying is always the focus of the music and the song, but guitar gives you this, this cool, I don't know.
I think it's the floor of the song. It's the floor. It's the foundation of it too. And if it's not solid, it doesn't matter how we'll probably make it through the song because the singer may be amazing and we love the melody, but there's something that doesn't make us want to go back and listen to it again and again and again. And what I find is it's usually just a clunkiness to the guitar. There's just it's just kind of slapped on. And songwriters say, oh, I don't really know. I know the basic chords. And it's like, cool, you keep the basic chords, but find 6 or 7 different ways to play those basic chords.
Yeah.
That chord structure. Because then I guarantee each one of those 6 or 7 have different emotions and you're going to feel something different. And it's going to trigger you to construct the melody or whoever is writing the melody, the top line, to think a little bit differently about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's so much you can do too. Guitar is so expressive. The thing that, a bit of an aha moment for me, my brother's a pianist.
Yeah.
And so he's incredible. He can do these, he just, he can hear the progression and he's just on it, because he's got that. He's studied, he's performed as a jazz musician in New York for decades. And now he runs a music school. And he once said to me that when he started learning the guitar, he started learning more about it. He was struck by, he was like, man, it's so wild how when you play something on the guitar, a chord, a voicing, it's such a wide voicing. And I was like, really? It's a wide voice? And I realized that, guitar, you're playing a chord and you're playing across octaves, whereas pianos tend to be tighter. It can be whatever you want it to be, but you think of a triad on piano and it's like the root, the third, and the fifth. Mm-hmm. You think of that major chord on a bar chord on guitar, and you've got like the root, the fifth, the third.
Back to the octave, back to the octave. Yeah, the octave of the root.
Back to the high fifth, and then the octave.
Oh, yeah.
2 octaves above.
See?
Or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's so expansive. So it's like, it's so vast. And that's where it sounds full. And there are moments for songwriting where you want that. You want that like huge full feeling. And then if that's the only color that you're painting with, it's after a while going to box you in. You're going to be like, I shouldn't need that. And then you got to start removing things. And that's where other voicings, whatever you use can unlock so much more.
Well, it's just a powerful thing to realize that you're playing across, I guess, is it 2 octaves right there? Yeah, 2 octaves in a full bar chord. It's just great to talk about it, actually. I don't actually think about this every day.
It's because you're just like, wow, that's right. And it's like, imagine a pianist playing over 2 octaves, having just like, 10 other fingers, just like extended out over those series. That'd be crazy.
Right. And so like when you're tracking with a band and the pianist comes in and joins the band sound and there's a bass player and stuff like that, one of the first things you kind of learn is like, dude, just lose that left hand. We don't need you doubling the bass line on the piano necessarily. Obviously there's moments where everything's, any possibility is the right answer for a particular song. But that's one of the things you realize and learn is like, oh no, stick to your zone. And I think to your point too, like when we're playing guitar, if we're playing by ourselves and we're just strumming the guitar and singing and that's the entire accompaniment, then, strumming open chords or whatever might be the right move, but different ways to play them, change it up rhythmically and stuff. But when you're thinking about it in terms of an arrangement of guitars on a song, that's when it becomes interesting. We're like, oh, okay, cool. So maybe one guitar is playing down low. Maybe another one's just playing 2 notes at a time, 3 notes at a time up high.
It could be the slightest change where maybe you're in G and you're keeping the old standard like open chords, but then you capo differently. You do the same, different open chords, different shapes, but still playing in G. Yeah. And suddenly that guitar in the mix sounds way bigger and it feels like, oh, when the chorus hits, that's where it lifts off. It doesn't have to be these crazy moves, but it's like I guess intentional. Yeah. Like you're really thinking about it as a whole. And for me, I'm usually thinking like, does this work for TV and film? Does this feel good? Does this feel like it's developing? Does it feel like each chorus can stand on its own, that they're all a little bit different, that they're at least dynamically different too? Right.
So each chorus needs to be an evolving storyline a little bit?
Yeah. It just like if it was a roller coaster ride, does it have that dynamic build where it's like first chorus is maybe here and then it comes down to second verse, but then the second one's a little bit more. And maybe I have a deep emotional bridge, which is a huge drop. Or maybe we have this continuing build. And then for the first part of the third course, we dip down completely, everything cuts out, and then everything jumps in, and then it's almost like a heart attack up to that third course.
Now, in a sync use, so let's break that down a little bit. So sync, what is sync? What does it even mean? Somebody's like, this is new. What
synchronization.
Is sync?
So of like, a medium, media to TV. So it's like, some song to television, film, advertisements, and there's so many different types because then you got web only, but it's basically taking some form of song, whether it be full, instrumental, some particular cue to media.
Right. And that could be YouTube too, but it could be
absolutely.
Could be the advertising campaign is also showing on YouTube.
Yeah, or exactly. That's
anywhere
it.
on the internet. So we say film and TV, but really it's more like to differentiate between the independent creator and the corporate opportunity or whatever.
Yes, exactly. It, right? And so that's essentially the route that I've taken with music that I've made. And it's fantastic because there's always, I feel like there's new streaming platforms consistently. I mean, we're in an age where it's just like there's a new one every couple of seconds. I feel like there's another one, another merger. And there's so many shows within production. There's a ton of opportunity. And for me, that's what's exciting because I grew up kind of thinking about the band, like, being in a band, being like, I want to get a label. It doesn't matter.
What was your band instrumentation when you were playing?
So our band instrumentation was 2 guitars, bassist, drummer, and then synth player.
And you guys were doing kind of
pop punk. Pop punk. We
almost
were
like skater punk. Would you be invited to a skateboard event?
We did Warped Tour, so we were so there it was like.
Are you wearing Vans?
No, I've got my Chucks on. I almost did wear Vans, but that was kind of our realm, and we were very light. We were barely punk enough to like have our foot in the door,
right.
A little bit pop to have our other foot in the door in the pop realm.
And the jacket you're wearing right now, it's just like a nod to punk. I actually got one recently like that too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I needed a light. I was like, I need something that I can wear when I got to LA because it's not cold enough to wear a hot jacket, but it's cold at night, so you need something.
That's how we were, and it was a great, we loved bands like Motion City Soundtrack, so they were very like, synthy, and they were just enough punk, just enough pop, and they were on Epitaph, which was a great independent label, and so that was kind of our realm.
Yeah,
and then I was always thinking, oh, label, I want to, get signed. And over time, I knew that wasn't going to happen. And I was okay with that. You kind of come to terms in peace. And then you move into that new next realm,
right,
which was
like,
licensing.
I've got all this understanding of music. I got all the skills. I know how to make stuff sound good.
It's funny, when you're in the studio, you don't realize you're absorbing stuff. But I can't there were lots of times where you're watching an engineer do something. I remember tons, he would be like, I'm going to bounce this. And we're like, what the hell does that mean? He's bouncing what? It just seems like the computer's doing nothing. What is he bouncing? It's like, is it just
bouncing right now? He's sitting in his chair.
It's that kind of stuff that at the time I'm like, oh, now. But I was seeing what he was doing, and like, he was adding samples into the kick. So every time we had a kick, I was like, oh, and then he was mixing bits of the room. Like, now it makes sense. But at the time, it was just like I was watching. It's just like watching a foreign, independent film that has no subtitles. And you're just like, I have no idea what's happening. But you're taking it in. And then later on, you kind of understand the language a little bit more. So
as you shifted from being in the band, being the music maker in the band, maybe you're the one on the mic singing too?
Oh, yeah. There was 2 of us, so we were kind of always going back and forth.
Okay, cool. Oh, you guys would trade verses?
Yeah, well. And then we would do that. Sometimes we would focus on harmony, so we were like really in that realm.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
As you switch from that to making music for sync, how did the music you were making change?
I realized the music that I was enjoying, pop punk, was not necessarily going to work for licensing. Because when I started, as the band was winding down, I was starting to take a few courses on licensing and started to write more. And I was like, oh, I'll message a company. I'll send them our latest album. And he wrote back, really sad. And it was just like, sad music, maybe we can use the instrumentals. And I was just like, oh, I was like, okay, so the lyrically...
You're like, you don't make sad products?
I was like, it's not going to work. And it was like, it was kind of a wake-up call. I may have to look at how I write songs and create a clearer structure, because I realized how I was writing was dudes in a room, somebody would bring a finished song, or we would kind of piece it together. I didn't know if that was going to work. So it was like, okay, let's listen to what's working for TV and film. And that's where I did a whole bunch of deep dive active listening. And so I would go on websites like TuneFind or iSpot TV, which lists essentially songs that are used in TV and film. And I just started curating playlists of things that were being used.
Interesting.
And I just started, I was working at a music school teaching guitar, and I was doing their marketing. I would, on my drives there and commutes home, or anytime that I had free time, I was just listening to those playlists. And so I was trying to find 2 genres that were close enough to what I was doing.
You said TuneFind, and what was the other one?
And then iSpot TV. iSpot focuses more on commercials. TuneFind is more like TV shows. So basically, you could go to any TV show, and it'll list all the seasons, all the episodes. It will tell you the scene too, like what was happening. And so that was helpful, because then I would be like, okay, so what's the scene? Oh, they use that. I can see why they use that. Yeah. And I suddenly understood that lyrically, it was much more straightforward, universal, but it still connected. It was done well. The singers, they were very, very intentional on the voices they chose. Like I could tell which ones were the breathy, whispery ones. This one was more confident. This one was gritty. And it was like, oh, they're painting with colors. Each voice made me feel something. But the production too was laid out in a way that supported that. The chord structure. So all of that, I was just like, nerding out and just like listening and being like, okay, I really have to listen.
The new iZotope RX12 is here, bringing powerful new AI tools to help you repair and improve your audio faster than ever. RX12 introduces scene rebalance for separating dialogue, music, and sound effects, plus stems view for visually editing stems inside your session. You can clean up noisy recordings, remove bleed, rebalance mixes, and automatically trim silence from long audio files in seconds. Whether you're producing music, editing podcasts, or working in post-production, RX12 helps you fix the unfixable fast. Go to iZotope.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. So, as you shift focus and learning and interest and stuff like that, when you're looking at this new way of thinking about music and stuff like that, it wouldn't have held your attention if something wasn't interesting to you, right? If you didn't find something you were like, oh, that's cool, So what do you feel like that was to you? Is it strictly like, wow, I love that music, or I love the sound of it, or like it moves me, or, and what even draws us to bands and stuff in the first place when we even start our own band? It's a combination of things. Or is it also like, did you start to realize that an appreciation for the craft of making the stuff?
I think that was it. Right? It was the craft, because I was in a very isolated world. Punk and like pop, it's very like, we like this music and that's it. So suddenly it was like an education of like other styles, other genres, and an appreciation. Yeah. Things that one time maybe I would have been like, that sucks. It's like, I'm like, oh, that's such a terrible answer or response to something you may not connect with. But what's much more interesting is finding ways that you can connect with it. Even if it's not like all of it, there's something in there that's good. And if it was used, you got to so it's like death to bad ego, and then, keeping a little bit of good ego, but, throwing away like the bad sort of like, this sucks, this is awful, and just reshaping the mind. So I think it was a great way to reshape how you view the craft.
It's like it's like an attitude shift where you just look for the wins instead of the losses, instead of like getting hung up on what's bad about things in the world. Now we do have to hold on to that ability to identify things that are bad, because we're trying to remove the bad stuff from what we're making, right?
Yeah, and it's just the things that don't work, because there's tons of great music that doesn't work for licensing.
Right.
And it's not that music's bad or worse or insignificant or terrible. It's just that may not be the outlet for it. However, there are plenty other places where it would work perfectly.
And even within production itself and within songwriting, there's stuff that shouldn't go in this song or shouldn't go in this production, not because it's necessarily bad, but because this isn't the right place for it, right? Like there could be a strummy guitar, there could be a very busy piano part that shouldn't be in there. But again, like realizing it's not because it's bad music or a bad part, it's just that in a song that needs a busy piano part or needs a strummy guitar, that's where it belongs, not right here in this verse or this even, as you said, this section of the song.
Yeah, and I think that's a level of, I don't know, player maturity or just like production over time that you realize, that you recognize, oh, right now I just need to play this, and it's one note.
Right.
As opposed to, and maybe that's part of the mindset and the letting go of the bad ego, because the ego wants to tell you like, oh, you got to play to show that you're good. I think eventually you realize that you can be super confident and an amazing player with that one note, because you know that's what it's serving. Because that's all that matters is a song.
As long as you know you're good.
Yeah, it's just like
the one note.
Yeah, it's just like you know you're good. It's just like if you support the song and the song does well, it works out for everyone. Let's say you throw that part in, then it doesn't work out well. The song doesn't do well, and it works out for no one.
Right.
Are you happy now? Like it's just like, So it was interesting, just this whole period of just like taking in a lot of music, because I saw many people that wanted to do licensing rush in and start creating, but with no clear intention.
Right.
They weren't listening to what was working. And I realized, if I'm going to be different, or if I want this to work out sustainably, I have to listen.
Right.
And that's it. And so it was just a whole bunch of listening, grabbing my guitar. I feel like I understood my guitar better after doing this too, because I'd try to find ways to communicate that synth part in a way that feels synthy, but it's still my guitar.
Yeah.
So that I could use that in a right when I'm working with someone, so that they could get in the headspace where when I'm saying like, hey, over time it's going to sound like this, if I could give them little snippets or things that felt like it, that gets them into a headspace to be like, oh yeah, it does feel like that, which then in turn helps them create melodically what you want them to do.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. I'm thinking about my first experiences of listening.
Mm-hmm.
So, certainly I was listening to music, and then that made me want to try and play some stuff. But joining a band in college, I specifically remember bringing in my fiddle, and I'm playing. Yeah. I'm the violin. I'm the utility guy in our like country twang band.
That's amazing.
We were called Enormous Richard in St. Louis, and we called it Skuntry, so it was like skunky country. Although that was originally supposed to be a cross between ska and country. That's actually what the mug is here. That's what the Skuntry mug is here. That's why we still got the skunk as our band logo and mascot.
I feel like everybody my first band was a ska band.
I didn't. It was just so happened that we had one song that somebody thought sounded kind of ska, but we had other country stuff, so it became that. But we weren't trying to be a ska band. But I do remember, discovering ska bands later, and I'm like, pick it up, bro. So much cool stuff.
Yeah,
great music. But to my point, when I was playing these songs, like melody was a strong point for me. I could hear like a melodic idea. So I'd come up with like a little fiddle riff. I couldn't play it very well, but I could like come up with that one melody and play it. And I play it in the beginning, and it's like, oh, that's cool that we could this. Then now there's a line on the beginning of this song, and the other guys were handling the lyrics and the chords and stuff. And then the singing would start, and I was like, I just kept playing my line, I don't know what else I'm going to do. And then my next step of evolution was like, I'll just play the line down an octave lower.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then I was like, well, that still doesn't really work, And so it took me a long time to realize that if you study even how something like a violin or a fiddle joins, let's just call it a fiddle.
Yeah.
Violin is more like the string parts. But like fiddle joins a band setting, is like, it plays a line, and then it just kind of like comps chords underneath, plays two note chord phrases. Maybe it's rhythmic, or maybe it just shuts the fuck up. You know what I mean? It doesn't play anything. But it took me a long time to realize that.
That would be a great setting on a guitar. It's just like something, just like, there we go. That's the one.
The Staffu button. Hey, is that electric got a Staffu on it?
I would love that. We should get a Staffu button. Like, what is it? It's the Staples Easy button. That's the new one that you can create, and then everyone can buy from your merch store. It's just put it on the desk. That'd be perfect.
And it's tricky with guitar. Like, I'm doing more band stuff, tracking in the studio with my friends as we'll come in with a new song, and we'll just put it together and record it very quickly, which is super fun, great exercise. And, it avoids us getting really stuck in the trenches of like overthinking it. And then by the time we're actually recording, it's like a lifeless take, Yeah. And also, if you record with a good drummer, the good drummer's probably going to play a great drum performance pretty early on, so it's good to get it.
I think there's there's some great players who are also just great songwriting players.
Yeah.
Like they instinctively know, and it could be a combination of things. It could be luck. It's a little bit of talent. It's a little bit of, they have a good listening ear. Yeah. And they're looking for the parts to where it's now my time to be here, and now it's not.
Right.
And when you have people and you run across folks like that, it's great because you bring them in on projects because whatever you give them, they'll serve the song. So whatever it needs to be, it will be.
Yeah.
And that to me is like what you're describing, that scenario of like a drummer comes in and sits and knows what to play, and they can maybe you give them an idea, maybe, and it's you do my terrible drum speak, it's like and it's like they're like, right. Oh, like that.
You do the drum dance.
Yeah, and they do like, it looks like spasms, and it's just like, oh no, but they get it, and they can communicate the part, and it's way more fluid than anything that I would MIDI program or add in. Those are things that I love when you just watch someone from that scenario that you're talking about just own a part, and they do it well.
Yeah, and going to the drum topic, boy, it's a whole conversation too. Just even like the difference between two different people hitting the same drum kit with the same mics, and you hear that, and you're like, wow, it's the player, it's the wizard, not the wand.
Yeah,
I forgot who said that recently on the show. Somebody just said that.
I like that.
But the backing up to the point of being, I'm playing guitar on that song tracking, and I really want to it's your moment. You want to have fun. So it's hard to find your cool ass part, but also learn, when to just back off.
Yeah.
You don't have to look for an amazing part in every section of the song sometimes. It's like as long as you've got cool stuff and it feels good, and then in certain areas, then it can be pretty tucked away in other parts.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as long as it's just conveying the clear emotion that you want people to feel, that's amazing. Because sometimes I'll meet a songwriter and I'll ask them the question, okay, what do you want me to feel in the song?
Yeah.
And either there's like a very long pause, or it's like, I want you to feel sad. Let's say sad.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, what kind of sadness? Like the sadness that someone that I loved has died, and I know they're in a better place, but I'm going to miss them. Sad that someone's left me. We suddenly can then kind of focus in more. And I think for TV and film, that's great, because then it speaks to, yes, a universal sadness, but you'll see these moments where it's used for those things that you were thinking about. And it's because you were absorbing those songs, you were taking in things, but you were very clear, I want you to feel this.
Right. Well, let's stay there for a sec. Understanding the feeling of the song, I think that's really, really crucial and really important. Even when we're just tracking with the band, it's like, hold on, let's make sure we know what's the mood that we're going for, what's the energy, because there's such a variety of ways you could take it. Sometimes it's nice to contrast what's being said in the lyric and do, it's like a twisted, sad lyric, but everything's upbeat in the music.
Yeah.
Just to do.
There was a band that I loved, Alkaline Trio, that would use that consistently. Always dark lyrics, but very happy, bright sounding things. And I think that's that feeling right there is you said twisted. That word stuck out to me because what is twisted? Well, twisted's a little maniacal. It's a little weird. It's there's a bit of sinisterness, but is it well-intentioned? Who knows? So it's just suddenly that feeling has. Then I'm thinking of sounds too that we can play with, because when I think of that sort of twisted, I'm like, why are we talking Tim Burton twisted? But slightly endearing too. There's something about Nightmare Before Christmas that's is it that, or is it maniacal Elm Street? Just really dark. That's take us.
Yeah.
Who knows? But it's those are the things that I geek out on.
Well, that's why clowns are evil, right?
Yeah. Probably.
It's the perfect example of that, isn't it? Right? It's like a scary, the Stephen King It.
Yeah.
It's a scary, terrifying thing, but it's a clown.
Yeah. And it's just clowns are scary, where it's I'm sure there's some good ones out there that get a bad rap because everybody's but you think, that consistent happy face. It's what are you hiding?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Dreaming of a career in audio or the entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs where you'll learn on professional-grade gear with industry pros, learning through real projects, not just lectures. Explore studio production, live sound, audio for film, and a whole lot more. Or take the entertainment business program to learn about contracts, promotion, and more. With diploma, associate, and bachelor's programs, there's a path for you. Book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848. So to that point, as far as moods go, so you're starting a song and you're thinking sad. What are some of the first places we might think of this or that? So a minor or major chord?
It could. For instance, I always start with chorus. I'm always thinking about chorus. So if I'm sitting down and I write, the first thing we're probably writing, it's the chorus.
Right on.
We're just chorus. So we're talking, and at that point too, we're always exchanging ideas. And I would say too, with the preface, most 90, more than 100%. I would say if there's more than 100%, I'm always co-writing. I'm never writing by myself.
Right.
Never. I don't think I've written by myself since I first heard your podcast, which was 2017. I think I haven't written by myself because when I get other people in on the process, I get a much better product.
Yeah.
I don't have to carry the whole thing.
I agree. I think a lot of the greatest stuff I've done has been collaboration.
Because I learn so much, because they're doing tons of stuff that I wouldn't even think of doing, or they learn something, or they're progressing themselves, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. So we're already exchanging ideas, but we usually sit down and we write the chorus. So if we're writing something that's dark, I'm thinking well, do you want to go cinematic dark, singer-songwriter dark? Are we thinking too, this is going to lead in a scene where something already has happened?
Now, will you pull up an example of something where you'd be like, oh, check this out? Do you find that risky sometimes?
It depends. So it's we may get a brief, which is where over time you know companies that send out emails, hey, we're looking for this style of song in the vein of da-da-da, or this new show we're looking for has da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So you may be given some specs already that you have to follow.
And that brief's going out to lots of people?
Yeah, it's going out to whoever's on the roster, producers, artists that they're signed to.
So let me ask a question about the brief too, because it's good that you brought that up, because somebody else brought that up recently as well. So do we think about the brief it's like entering a contest? Or is it more don't think about it that way, because the cool thing is you do the brief, it becomes your prompt for what you guys are going to write today. And if you don't get the placement, guess what? Now you've got a new song in your library that does that kind of thing.
I love that way better. That's where I would go with, because it's not a competition. Yeah, there's a good chance it might not be used. But what's fantastic is, number one, you're getting briefs. You're not having to search. A company thinks that what you've already created is worth to be sending you this. So that's a huge thing. I would say the next is, if it doesn't land here, that's okay. Most likely it's still going to land.
Yeah.
Everything that I write now, I go in with the mindset of, it's going to get used for something. It might be this, it might not be this. That's okay.
Now, how do you, there's more to the story though too, in terms of if you're doing that. So first of all, you have to be in the right circles to even see the brief, to know what the opportunity is to potentially write for. What's the first thought about that? How do you put yourself in that situation?
To start getting briefs or just moving that? I think number one is you have to, I know it sounds cheesy, but it's mindset. You have to believe that you can, because you have to believe that your music is worth hearing in major TV shows and commercials, and that you have something you can contribute.
Yeah.
If you don't, then you will self-sabotage and you'll work against yourself. So that's the first thing you have to have. And maybe that's the little bit of good ego that you have to have. You have to believe on some level that you're capable.
Right. You got to have the mindset.
Even if you don't know the tools, or you don't know production, you don't know any of that, you just have to start I think I can do this. And that's the biggest start. That's the biggest hurdle, because so many people never get past there. I
agree with that. And I won't take us on a tangent, but I've thought a lot about that lately. Mm-hmm. And the bottom line is, if you you either can accomplish something or you can't accomplish something, if you believe that you, in either direction requires the belief in that. So it's do you want to believe in not being capable of doing the thing, and then that's so that you can prove that result? Or do you want to believe do you want to take a chance, even just take a risk and believe that you can accomplish the thing, so that you that result might get accomplished, because it won't get accomplished without doing that first.
That's it.
Right?
That to me
does anybody become incredibly successful by believing that they can't do it?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. I think that's a huge point.
Actually put a comment in right there. Right now, right there, if you can.
Yeah. If
you think that you can actually accomplish great things by not believing that that's possible.
I think it's our creative. We have such creative potential as, songwriters, producers, because it's a form of creative energy. And creating that structure is creating something. And we feel it too, because, they say creatives feel. So if you feel that you are capable of doing something, I think your body also kind of goes like, yeah, you walk with the confidence of you're going to do that.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're going to walk around with like, oh, you already got all these rejection letters. There's no, it's like Eeyore, just like, oh, maybe tomorrow I will.
Right.
And it's just like, I guess part of that is the little good ego. So it's to believe that you can. Now, you've now moved to the next step, which is, what is your specialty? What is the thing you're going to own and do really well? Are you going to be someone that's a topliner that writes, that is melodically aware of what needs to happen, can also guide some of the lyrical aspects? If that is your role, own it really well.
What are topliners like as people? What are they? Do they tend to be singers who can sing really well? Do they tend to be a guitar player who's like, I got this great melody idea?
They might,
or keyboardist, or
they
something?
might be both. So I think there's no. Overall, they have the capability to sing, communicate their melody well.
Do they ever show up with a bouzouki or like a hurdy-gurdy?
What is it? That's one of my favorite Monty Python skits. It's the cheese shop, and there's a guy playing the bouzouki in the back. And then
it's a cheese shop.
It's a cheese shop, sir. I think, most topliners have the capability of recording the vocal too. Like if we were writing, they would be able to communicate that. Okay. Even if we get another singer, they should be able to sing at some level.
Because usually the top line represents the vocal melody.
Yeah, it's the top of the. Yeah, I think that's why they say top line. It's like the top. It's the main melody. It's on top of everything else. And so that, to me, if you're going to be a top liner, and let's say you're new to this, you better have someone guide you on what is required to make great top line, what is required of modern commercial music, what you need to do. You're going to have to get someone to guide you. If you're doing production, you better understand the nuances of how to produce for TV and film. If you don't, that's okay. There's tons of great programs, tons of great courses, and you probably should get someone over time to help assess your work from a sonic level, because that's a big thing that most people with NSYNC, music supervisors, will reject a song because the quality is low. They don't want a demo. They don't want something that's low grade. They want something that can compete.
Right.
And then if you're going to be great at lyrics and you're going to be a lyricist, you better know how to write universal lyrics or ask good questions from the artist. So that
now,
you can,
what are the lyricists typically like? Are they more booky, Englishy poetry kind of folks? They can't sing the line, but can write the words for it?
They are someone that I find great lyricists also ask great questions of the artist and the top liner. So let's say we're going to write about, let's say, heartache or something. Mm-hmm. They're going to ask specific questions that kind of get to a deeper root that feel for the artist, that, make pull from a particular scenario, but they're going to craft it in a way that can also work universally.
They're more of the interviewer on the song.
Yeah, so which is great, because then that allows me to start building stuff. It's hard to build, ask questions, and just do all of that. So when I hear a songwriter say, well, I do everything, you can't do everything. You can't do everything on your own. You're not going to do it well. Something, you might be able to do one thing not bad, but then I can show you all the other things that are kind of like suffering because you're trying to carry the whole song.
Fascinating. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's like, sure we sit down and write songs by ourselves and want to do more of it and everything. To your point, when you're doing these co-writing sessions too, and I've done a bunch of interviews on the show where we've talked about this, but I mean, it can be like write and produce a finished recording of a song before lunch and another one after lunch if you're at that hardcore level. And I don't know if it gets even more intense faster than that, but that's a lot to accomplish in that time. So having the combination of people, somebody who can really just like work the computer and work the DAW and throw it all together, somebody who's focused on the melody, somebody who's maybe got the guitar in their hand, somebody, is it usually like 3 people?
3 is the magic number. That's that's the perfect setup.
And so it's like the track.
Producer, tracker, and then you've got the lyricist, you've got the top line artist, and it's like, that's it. That's a great
And
combo.
How would you describe the typical tracker?
The tracker understands that can not only build a track pretty quickly, like where I'm saying, like, as you're saying, like maybe 3 hours. 3 hours, you're writing a song. We have an initial idea. We're building out the idea. The tracker's building out the idea as it's developing, has the capability and knows what sounds are going to make it feel that way, and have the capability to also get the artist to come in, start tracking the vocal, maybe do a little vocal production, kind of guide on the auxiliary vocals.
So the artist is in this mix of this co-writing thing. And the artist would be thought of as the top liner?
Yeah, usually I like to find, like the artist and the top liner in one. Right. Because they already are releasing music. Because from an artist standpoint, it's great. Because if you get a song placed, cool, then you can release it like a week or 2 before the show comes out. Because then the show comes out and people are watching it and they're like, oh, well, I wonder what song that is. And then they start like guessing where it is. And then, they kind of like Shazam it, pops up. Oh, cool. And then they follow them on any platform. Yeah. I can tell when a song has been used or just recently because I'll go to like, what is it? Like muso.ai and I'll see like the stream or it's just like the Shazams are like through the roof. And I'm like, that was...
It shows when people are Shazamming stuff.
And I was like, that song must have been used. So it's always a great little metric to know, like, each week, like, okay, so this one got used. I'll have to follow up and just check when I'm going to get paid for that. That's awesome. There we go. So it's a great metric to see that. But yeah, artists that can top line are fantastic. So that's the 3. Because if I can get that combo, that's like, to me, it's great. You're going to get a great product.
Native Instruments now brings you Complete 26, loaded with creative tools for songwriting, production, mixing, and sound design. The big news is the return of the legendary Absynth 6, with evolving textures, cinematic soundscapes, and experimental sounds designed to spark new ideas fast. Contact 8 continues to be the center of the complete ecosystem, with built-in tools for chords, phrases, grooves, and arrangement to help keep you in the creative flow. With Massive X Guitar Rig 7 Pro, Session Guitarist Instruments, Play Series sounds, and premium tools from Isotope and Brainworks, including Ozone 12 Elements, Complete 26 gives you everything that you need to produce in any genre. Plus, Native Instruments continues expanding NKS integration with complete control keyboards and machine hardware. Go to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Howdy, Rockstars. We're back now for the jam session, aka the second half of the show. My guest today is Mike Meiers from Songwriting for Guitar, joining us here in the studio. Mike, are you ready to jam, dude?
I'm ready. Round 2. Here we go. Let's do it.
Tell us about your studio setup, man. What does your studio world look like when you're in your workspace?
My studio space started at first pretty, I would say modest, like very, very simple, because I think I also didn't have money. So that was the first thing. It started with a good Apollo twin. That was the first thing when somebody told me.
Say a good apology.
A good apology. I'm so sorry for all the gearheads. They're going to hear me now talk about all what I didn't have. The first thing was the Apollo twin. Somebody told me like get a good interface, and so I got that. Eventually,
and that's like 2 inputs. Or
yeah,
something,
exactly. Right? And then I upgraded over time to the Apollo 6, and then just have the 2 together. For me, it's guitar. So it's a lot of guitar. I love. I have a great. It's from U82. It's the.
Is it the
Oxbox? Yeah.
Oxbox? So
I had a Kemper and I had a Helix for a while. I got rid of the Helix, but the Kemper has been kind of like a staple for me. STL Tones puts out great Kemper packs that you can get, and it's always I've just used those. And then over time...
Is that Joey Sturgis?
Yeah. They've been really good. Another one, I always love going from like neutral DSP. They have great packs as well. But it was strictly just Kemper. And then over time, I got this nice little Vox lunchbox head. And I was like, you know what? I would love, to mess around. Because there was something about having
What's a lunchbox head?
It's just think of just like a very tiny version of like a, Vox head. Instead, it's just...
Sort of like an AC30?
Yeah, like less than that. I forget the wattage. I think it's like super low. But
speaker or no speaker?
No speaker, because then through the aux box, then I've got all the different speakers that I can kind of mess with, and because I missed having just like an actual amp head. Right. For years I had that. Like I had like a Marshall, then I had a Mesa, and then I had like a good Vox AC30. I sold it, and I was like, I kind of miss having just like the old tube amp where I could go in and change, especially like great clean tones. And so I just invested in a little aux box.
So does that make the experience as a guitar player, a lot of what we like dialing in the sound of an amp is that what comes out of the speaker sounds like a guitar out of an amp to us. When you do this combo with like the head and the aux box, and now the speaker is actually your speaker in the control room, do you find that it mimics that experience a little more closely where you're like, that's what my guitar sounds like kind of feeling?
For me, it feels much more organic. I love the Kemper, and the Kemper's fantastic, gets great tones. But for certain styles, that works wonderful. But for when I use the aux box, I feel like I'm getting something that feels, especially in briefs, I've been seeing more and more organic come up. The word organic. And I'm like, okay, there's something with that combo that feels very... I feel like I'm in the studio again, like back in the day where I would have an amp mic'd up different ways. And, we had the mics that were here, and then we had the 2-room mics back here that were picking up.
Right.
That's what I wanted a little bit more of. Certain things can capture that and certain things can't capture that. That gave me the experience that I wanted.
So this mimics that amp in a room with the room mics and all that more for you.
Yeah, and I love that. I get to turn her, I can go back and forth, speaker volume I can mess with, room reverb I can add up a little bit.
Where does the room reverb come from? That's in the
right in the aux box, yeah. So it's just like, it was one of those things that I was like, maybe I should. And I think it's been around for quite a while, but for me it was relatively new to add in my workflow. That's been an integral part. And I gotta say my Moog Sub 37. It's pretty much used on everything. I love that thing to death because I'm my first instrument was piano, so like messing around with like synths I always loved because bands I grew up listening in the pop punk world, there was always some sort of synth somewhere, especially in like Midwest emo stuff. There was always like a synth going on. So having that there is great for dark cinematic. It's great for pop. It's great for singer-songwriter. It's always a staple.
Sub 37 is that?
Yeah.
And so that gives the low.
It's a really good like sub basses. I love throwing, even if I've got strings in there, I love adding just that level because then you get this weird little hybrid orchestral kind of stuff sometimes, which is fantastic.
If you're going to use an analog sub synth, do you get into tuning issues sometimes that are trickier than if you do digital sub synths?
Not so much. This one's been pretty reliable. You do have to check, make sure that everything's in line. And, most of the time if I run into a problem, I'm like, tune that guitar really quick. That's the problem. The synth is great.
So how do you tune the synth? You just have a tuner in the computer?
Just right in Logic. I just open it up and just kind of like... So it makes these really cool, weird sounds.
Right. So that was the other part of my question too. So Logic would be your DAW.
I was originally. I remember when I was in a band, I got my first MacBook and it came with GarageBand, and I was like, let's see what it is. And then my addiction to Sweetwater started because then it was just like, I need to get one of these interfaces everyone's talking about. And got my little Candy, and I messed around with GarageBand for years, and then eventually just upgraded to Logic. Bless everyone who uses Pro Tools. My mind can't work that way.
Well, it's an interesting thing because in the studio world where I am, or where I came out of, the reason for Pro Tools was everybody uses Pro Tools. And a lot of what you do is you're handing things back and forth. Sessions, you're opening up somebody else's session, continuing. There's that trading of stuff. In this songwriting world, expected to maybe complete what you're doing before the session's over, or before it leaves you, in which case you correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't matter what you're using.
No, it to me with songwriting, it's whatever gets the job done and allows you to flow freely.
Right.
Anything that impedes that, I don't think is, we got to fix. And for me, Logic is the thing where it's like, cool, I know what to do. I boom, 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 done.
Right. Key phrase gets the job done.
Yeah.
When you hand over the thing that you did, it's done.
Yeah, it literally, there's times where maybe it's 24 hours. Under 24 hours, you got to write the whole thing. You got to mix it. You got to get ready. So if you can find all the team players that you have and they're ready to go, you got to do this.
Yeah. And it needs to be quick and fast. So what are some tips you have for working fast in Logic? Maybe get nerd out a little bit.
Okay, nerd out.
Are you a trackpad? Are you a mouse? Are you a trackball?
I'm a trackball guy right there.
So like this kind of thing with the 4 buttons?
Oh, yeah. That's been like, and it's funny when people don't use that and they have to use my computer, they're always like, what the hell? Like their hand breaks. And to me, I'm like, oh, it's just this.
Yeah.
It's just very quick. Templates. The number one, I think this goes for probably anything if you're doing songwriting. The more templates you have, the better. Because I can go, okay, what are we doing right now? And if I know we're going to have something that's more singer-songwriter, dark pop or something, I've got that template set up with everything ready to go that I can build. I have the vocal chains that I like. I've got all this ready. It's all, not on, but it's ready to go. That to me will shave off hours of me instead of trying being like, what about this sound? Because that's the last thing. Nobody wants to sit in a room when you're working on a track and it has energy and you're like, what do you think of this sound? And you're just messing or that's not, and it's not respectful of their time or your time.
Right. You do need to mess around, but just some other time. Right?
Yeah, it's not the time and place. So it's like the more songs you complete, that template gets refined. So every time that I do another one, it's updating and it's updating. So that's to me the number one thing that will save you a huge amount of time. You have a short little burst of, you got less than 24 hours to make a song. Having a template is ready.
How does templating work in Logic? Does Logic literally let you save as template?
Yeah, exactly. Just like that. And then I can pull it up.
And then so when you start in Logic, it's sort of like a splash screen comes up and it's like, start with a blank session or start with one of these things.
Yeah.
So that template would show up as one of these things.
Like I would say, I save it, as, if it's a particular show or style that I was inspired by, I'll put this as my Grey's Anatomy template. This is my da-da-da template. Yeah. This is my Coldplay template. This is my dark pop template. So I get very specific and start to refine. So I've got all these to choose from. And it's, to me, again, it's just different colors I can paint with. So I can just kind of look in there and be like, okay, so what are we creating? This dark? Are we going optimistic? Are we doing something that's anthemic? I've been talking a lot about dark. There are moments of happiness. There are moments where you can get like Black Keys, looking for a Black Keys style song. Cause that was the one thing,
What would be in a Black Keys template?
Oh, for me, I actually just finished up one with a band here. It's a husband-wife duo.
This is no way. I got an answer. I got a joke answer for you. So you're like, okay, you want to do the Black Keys template? And then you press a button and then you just stand up. You get out of your chair and stand up. And they're like, what are you doing? And you're like, we're leaving. We're going over to Easy Eye Sound across town to go record over there.
I would say for my Black Keys template, which they're used a lot. They're used a ton for sync. It's pretty much just like 4 or 5 guitars ready to go. Different kinds, like fuzzy, not fuzzy, clean, straight. My drum kit sound that I love, or like an Easy Drummer, the template that I tend to use for like drum patterns that I've got underneath. When I bounce them all out, here are all the different ones that I'm going to use in Stephen Slate for the different samples that I'll use. Here's all the vocal chains down below. This is going to be fuzzy, not fuzzy. This is going to be straightforward. There we go. And then I'll even have like placeholders. Like my verse is probably going to be this long. Chorus is going to be this long. And so I can just go in. And I finished up with their husband-wife duo here, the Noontides. We just did like a, Black Keysy style kind of like song.
Yeah. And that's an interesting thing. It's just that reminder too, because I get requests from people like, oh, do you do a thing? And I have to be really cautious because I'm like, a lot of what I've done has been like, yeah, we're just going to record a real band in the studio and do that, but in Nashville, somebody thinks about like, oh, can we do a track? Can we just demo this? Can you do a whole demo? I'm like, well, I could, but if you're thinking about that thing where we come in and 2 hours later, you've got a finished thing, that's a very different way of working, right? So, and to your point is like, to even get to that, it takes all that work on the front end that you've done to learn to develop different styles for different kind of briefs, to create the templates that go into having these ready to go ways to even get started so that you can go through it quickly and work quickly.
I have a hard drive that is external hard drive that I keep on the side that is literally all the songs that I never could use for sync. Yeah. And that was just I always keep that those were my practice songs. Yeah. Those were kind of like, people talk about like the 10,000 hours or like, I heard someone say what's better is 10,000 iterations. And I was like, ooh, I love that more. So I was like, and that to me was the constant iteration of like, oh, that song got bad feedback. Or it wasn't bad feedback. It was helpful. Yeah. It was feedback that maybe I didn't want to hear, but I used and like took you and was like, oh, they're right. You know what? Those vocals are not aligned right. It sounds choppy. It sounds cool. Let's do another one, so that you get to that position where you can't open a template. You've got two people there. You make a song. Oh, that's great. You send it off. Done. Yeah. And people go like, how does that happen? And as you said, it's kind of that front end of all that work that people don't see.
If you record music, podcasts, video, or dialogue, the brand new iZotope RX12 is one of the most powerful audio repair tools you can add to your studio. RX12 now features AI-powered scene rebalance, letting you separate dialogue, music, and sound effects for incredible control and post-production. The new Stems view makes stem editing faster and more visual than ever, while upgraded music rebalance and dialogue isolate deliver cleaner separations with improved machine learning. RX12 also adds trim silence, helping podcasters and editors instantly remove dead space and speed up long-form editing workflows. Plus, rebuilt de-bleed tools and real-time processing improvements make cleaning up noisy recordings easier than ever. From restoring damaged audio to fixing podcast interviews, guitar tracks, vocal tracks, and film dialogue, RX12 is the industry standard toolkit trusted by producers, podcasters, post-production engineers, and music makers worldwide. Go to iZotope.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. And the template part is what's happening in Logic. Yeah. But part of that template is also like, you've got the Moog subsynth over here nearby, or maybe you've got, like, how many guitars do you have in your spot?
That's a good question.
Bunch, or have you narrowed it down to the ones?
I've tried to limit to, like, again, textures, kind of like how I'm talking about vocals. Like, there are different types. I've got my Strat, I've got my Tele, I've got my Tele Deluxe, I've got I think I have two Strats, and then I've got a Gibson 339, so it's like I've got a good amount
of... Is it the hollow body?
Yeah, hollow body. It's gorgeous. It's so good. It's just, there are certain guitars where you're like, I will never sell.
Even how's the 339 different from the 335?
I think the 335 is way bigger. 339 is just a little bit more condensed and it's nicer. So it's like, that's what I wanted too, and it weighs nothing. Okay. Can we say, because I loved my Les Paul, but for years I felt like I had such like crippling, like on my left side, always being like, ugh.
Which is funny because like Les Paul didn't look like a super stout person when he designed that guitar.
But man, maybe he had like a meaty shoulder that was just well packed over time. I don't know. But like, it was always hard. But that and I must say what's nice is there are times where I will stand up and play, and there are times where I'm sitting and I'm just like, playing away. And, I've got a slew of, different acoustics. I've got, Taylor, I've got a Fender. My wife's, that was great. I love my wife, but one of the great things was then I got her grandfather's Martin, which is lovely. And it's it's a gorgeous Martin.
So how do you, when you think about the different acoustic guitars, how do you think about why you need different even acoustic guitars?
I will say the Taylor's much more modern. Like that one, because it's relatively new. So when I'm looking for, that bright, cheery, upbeat kind of tone, what's great about my wife's Martin, it's a little kind of like classical Martin. And
small body or whatever.
Yeah, small. And so usually I won't.
The dark brown.
Yeah. And I will not use a pick. I'll usually use my thumb and first finger. So it's great for that sort of like dark, sad singer-songwriter because you can hear that. And that's what I want. Yeah. Works perfectly. When I'm using something like the Taylor, I've got a pick, and it's usually like, I don't know, 0.66. And, it's just like nice. It's cut through. You can hear. It's bright. It's meant to be present, or it's meant to be, if I'm doing like rock or like indie rock, it's meant to be more percussive underneath so that you can kind of hear it. Where I find the Martin ends up being a lot more front and center.
What if you're doing something where you just kind of get that bright, crisp strum? Mm-hmm. It's not like banging on it. But it's like pling,
Yeah.
And it's like it brings the bright into the mix. Which guitar might you reach for that?
Probably going to go with the Taylor.
Yeah.
Or my Fender. I have this nice Fender acoustic that was one of my first acoustics that I brought from a friend. It's solid, gorgeous.
Yeah.
And people usually don't think about acoustics in Fender. They're always thinking electrics.
Yeah,
but it's gorgeous, but massive body. Like I'm usually like the arm is extended out, so you kind of have to get a chiropractor to like just kind of get you back in.
Yeah, it's funny how guitar. It's a funny thing about guitar. It's such a fun instrument to play, but I think we really do have to be thoughtful of our posture too, because if you put in the hours and the time, you can really realize we started to talk about this the other day when I was chatting with you earlier on your podcast, in fact. But the physical involvement of playing instruments in guitar, since we're both guitarists. But you could find you're too hunched over for a long time and you're like, oh my, wow. You got to be careful of that stuff. My brother is a pianist, he went through that where he was like, he had to really start being conscious of his posture years ago.
It's a big thing because you don't realize that you're holding yourself in these weird positions for long periods of time, hunched over apart.
And sometimes sometimes the part requires a level of intensity just to carry the motion across.
And it reads, I told you, like I wear this whoop and it always will, when I'm doing like palm muting and it's like, let's say I do it for like 20 minutes, it will just then show like you reached zone 4 for 4, like a strain, you've burned, 200 and something calories. And I'm like, shit, what did I do? Oh, I play guitar. And I was like, really? And I was like, there's not an option for guitar on there. It's like, so I have to like write in, what was the activity? Guitar. We don't realize how like much of a strain is, not just physical strain, but mental, that we're like focused on making sure the part is the best that it can be, that it's working for everything. Because producers, we're hunched over the entire song. We're kind of like the architect, looking in, making sure, does everything serve its purpose? Is everybody also happy with what they're getting? I feel like producers also check in with everyone. How are you feeling about this? Is this good? Are you feeling up? You're getting ready to track your vocals. I can tell you're feeling a little self-conscious. Are you feeling okay? It's okay. We're going to do good. So you're motivating. You're doing a lot. You're juggling so much.
You're almost coaching.
Yeah, it really is a coach. It's huge, but it's super satisfying. And, but yeah, those are the acoustics, the electrics that I have. For vocals, I have a really nice Vanguard V13 that I use for most vocals.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
I've used that for years, and it's been super solid. And usually I'll have that go into my, this is maybe the most nerdy I get. Either I'll have that, have that go straight into my warm 73A, or sometimes I'll have that go right through my Audioscape LA2. And that's really nice. And sometimes I'll use the LA2 for guitars as well.
Yeah, the Audioscape stuff is really cool.
Yeah, my friend Josh got me hooked on because he would use a lot of that in mixing. And I'd be like, dude, the guitars sound great. He's another one I would say on the team that is a fantastic mixer. He's like Josh Sewell, that I met in a licensing course. And he wished he had more time for producing and writing. I was like, I wish I could mix to the level that you could. That's where we just combined forces and started to trade projects. Yeah, and so it was super helpful. But like, I heard a mix once, and I was like, dude, those guitars sound so warm. What are you using? It's like, oh, it's my Audioscape LA2. And I was like, well, what is that? And he was like, oh, it's a piece of hardware. And I was like, oh, I've never bought like that much hardware. I'm just like, I feel like I'm just going to, mess it up. Like I'm just going to screw it. It's been one of the best pieces of gear to have in my studio.
Yeah. Yet in the meantime, just for encouragement, for those of us who are interested in getting started on a path like this, maybe just practicing writing in different styles so we can begin to build our templates, You don't really need to, you can start real simple like what you did, right? Just pick a mic and
the hardest thing is getting started. Yeah, it's just the choice of just like starting.
But do you even need a mic, to be honest? At the very start, like if you have a way to record guitar direct and you've got a MIDI keyboard,
that's all you need.
You can basically compose tracks because you're not trying to do the singing part yet.
Yeah, if you're just starting with tracks and you're just building that way and you don't have a singer, that's okay. Start with a very simple MIDI. The simpler, the better, because you're limited. And that's what I enjoyed about my start. I was very limited because I lived in a place where I couldn't blast music loudly in an apartment. I couldn't do any of that. I wasn't even aware of like sound panels or just like being sound conscious. My speaker should be here. It was just, I'm just going to start. And right there, it was a very simple MIDI keyboard and just starting to piece together songs. I had a friend that said, these sound like Nintendo Wii songs. And I was like, okay. I was like, thank you. But it made me aware then too, those ones, I spent a lot of time building these things out, and it caused me to go like, were you clear on what you wanted to build at the beginning? No, I was. Okay, well, what do you want? I think I'm going to start to focus more on like singer-songwriter folk stuff. Yeah. And start to, because when I was getting started a lot, Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros were used all the time of Monsters and Men. And so I was like, cool, I'll try to create things like that because it was just enough where it was more guitar-centered. I wasn't necessarily going crazy EDM stuff that was not,
Now that brings up an important question. So, and we've talked about this at times on the podcast. Writing as an artist and mimicking what exists versus don't do that because that already exists. So you need to be ahead of the curve, or you need to be doing something new and different because new and different is what everybody might be looking for later by the time music is, a new artist is needed, or new music. So I guess I'm not even sure how I'm asking the question, but is there a difference between writing and whether you're looking at what works now as an artist versus whether you're looking at what works now when you're thinking about sync? In other words, in the sync world, because, Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros might have been very popular at the time, then maybe Sync World very quickly might have been like, we need something that sounds like that, right?
I get where you're coming from, because I think it's also too, artists are worried if I build this out and it's not relevant or people don't want this, then it feels like I have a digital paperweight on my hands that's just going to sit. I think it's clear on the intention of why are you creating in the first place, because there's different rules, metrics. So I think for sync, you have to be aware of what works currently, kind of like, as I said, tune find. Listen to what's working and find, like, if you spent the next 5 years in this world, would you care about it? If the answer is no, maybe that's not the world that you need to be in. Maybe it's not the show that is necessarily what it needs to be. If you are like someone that wants to create heavily your own artist path, your own artist career, and then you want to play shows more consistently, then you're also more interested in telling your story and finding out where you connect. Where there might be a similar path between the two is that question that everybody asks. When you say they find out you do music, they'll ask, who do you sound like?
Are you ready to launch your career in the audio or entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, right here in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs to prepare you for the industry. From studio production and live sound to audio for film and a whole lot more. You'll learn by doing, working with professional-grade gear alongside experienced industry pros. If you're more into the business side of entertainment, SAE's Entertainment Business Program teaches essential basics like contracts and promotion to help you navigate the industry. With diploma, associate, or bachelor's degrees, there's a path for everyone. Plus, Career Services supports graduates as they take the next step. Want to see it for yourself? Immerse yourself in Nashville's exciting music scene and book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848.
So have an answer, and that may give you a little bit more. And so when I found people say, what do you produce like? Well, I produce a lot of artists that tend to be more like singer-songwriter, folk-based that work for TV and film, or I work with a lot of like indie singer-songwriters that happen to, write in the style like Gracie Abrams, Lizzie McAlpin. I can give a couple references. Now, they're still their own, but it's in the ballpark.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think for me, that probably gave a little bit of clarity on my end, and it was easier to pitch because I was a lot more confident on what I was doing.
Right.
I think music supervisors or libraries are hesitant when someone says, I do everything,
right, or
I sound like no one you've ever heard.
Interesting.
They're like, I don't want to hear that. Who?
Right.
You sound like someone.
Right.
Who? Because we only take these kind of artists. So what kind of artist are you? So if you don't have that, it's going to be hard.
Okay, that's cool. So that gives you an idea of what directions to go on. And again, looking at what the briefs are now. So let's rewind to that for just a sec. So you're starting out, you're like, well, how do I see a brief?
Tunefind.com. I think this is the best way. I'll probably mention it. I wish there was a counter. I think if there's a counter, this is the 5th time, because I say it all the time. It is by far one of the most reliable websites that helped me when starting out.
Yeah.
It's still existing. The look of the site has never changed, but the information is so relevant. So if you are like, I want briefs, go there. Type in a show. So if, let's say you have music already and you go, my music would be great for insert show. Mm-hmm. Type it in, pull it up, go to the last 2 seasons of the show and look at what they used. If you see something and there's only 3 songs that used in one season, 3 songs used in another, that means they're very particular, and the likelihood of your music getting chosen is probably not going to happen.
Right.
Because they have a clear taste, and it's very, very limited.
Right.
Let's say you go to another show and it suddenly says 21 episodes, 12 songs per episode.
They're more open to
more open
stuff.
Because they probably need a lot, and it's probably going to be varying genres, because that's when you would look for theme. You're probably going to find breakup themes, building themes, moving on themes. Oh, there's bound to be some things you can look at.
Okay.
That's the best way that you can start to piece your own briefs.
Okay, that's cool.
And then if you do that, you start creating things that work, and then you'll start getting accepted to libraries, supervisors that like you. Then you start getting added to email lists. And that's when you can start getting more like private briefs where it'll say, don't share. Make sure you're not sharing.
Interesting.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Now, to that point, I know that you've done this for a long time, and you've now got an amazing podcast called Songwriting for Guitar, which is great. It's just very focused on that very thing, right? And you're also working with people. You're teaching, you're coaching as well. So talk to us a little bit about that. Like, what is it like? What has your experience been like working with people and helping them develop their ability to write songs, develop their ability to step into their voice, all of that,
What's great about it is I don't think people realize that they're capable of doing the things that they can do.
Right.
We're so critical of ourselves. Yeah. I mean, it's just, maybe this can work out. It's surprising that once a songwriter can build a system, they can get clear feedback on what's working and what's not working. They can have someone also provide a roadmap of, here are some potential things you might come across that might hinder your growth. So we got to watch for this, this, and this. And if they do that, that's when that's where growth happens. And suddenly they're happier. Yeah. They get songs that they're excited about. They, I use Voxer for coaching. I remember one sending a message, dude, I just got 3 placements. Or, hey, my song just got used in American Songwriter. They're going to write an article about me. All these people that started with expectations of, I'd like it to work. It'd be great if it could.
Yeah.
But the common thread is they just listened and did the work. They just followed, whether it was me, Maddie, Alden, Zachary, Laney, any of the coaches that I have, regardless of what they did, they just listened and did the work. Results happen.
That's amazing.
And that to me is fun. It's one thing to get, like, I can get a placement, and it's like, that's great for me. It's great. I love it. But to see someone else get something, like one of my clients, George, I remember when he texted me and sent, like, hey, I got a $7,000 client.
Awesome. That
was great. Because I know for him, that was like how it felt for me the first time I pitched something that was like a large money marker. It was a barrier because I didn't think I was worth that dollar sign.
Right.
As soon as you get that, then you realize, oh, I am. And then your mind starts thinking of new ones. And like, oh, let's do another. That's to me, the whole great thing about coaching is you're making the impossible possible, or what they hope will be possible suddenly now is like front and center of what they're doing.
Now, when somebody works with you and you're coaching them through this process, is it possible for them to show up with zero vision?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because most of the time that's why because if they had vision, they'd be doing the thing. Most of the time, you're going to find.
Well, then let me ask it this way too: why do they show up in the first place? What is somebody like when they show up?
Usually, it's a bunch of everything. They're trying to do all the things, and you can't do all the things.
So they're already interested. They're interested in songwriting. They're interested in
production,
taking it to another level.
They've probably watched more YouTube videos than anyone on the planet. Right. I forget. I did the statistic too. I was like, for guitar tutorial, like in our vein or area. It's like 1,200 an hour are uploaded.
Amazing.
So it's just like if you weren't overwhelmed already, it's just like there's more. I'm sure that statistics changed since when I looked it up, but they're usually doing a little bit of everything. And that's not sustainable because you run yourself into the ground. You start to feel
if you're creating those videos.
Even if you're creating songs already, you probably don't have a framework of how you're creating. You probably are saying, well, when I'm inspired, I sit down and create. That's a wonderful form of creation. I don't want to, shit on that form of creation. It's a wonderful form. But when it's also another form that you desire is to get a brief, and that brief may be a 24-hour turnaround, or it's very short. You can't just rely on that side of creation. You've got to be ready to just be like, well, we got to write. It's like a chef opening up a restaurant being like, I only cook when I'm inspired.
Right.
What are the hours? I don't know. I'll let you know when the hours are.
But I'm hungry now.
Exactly. That's like that business would close down. And that's why so many shut down as songwriters. It's not that they're not capable. They've just run themselves into an unsustainable practice.
All right. Well, so to that point, give us a tip on how to just sit down and complete something in that sit down. So you've already given us some, more advanced ways of thinking about it. But let's say at the very beginning, before we're capable, we don't have 3 people. We don't have our topliner and our tracker and our lyricist. It's just us. We're just trying to go through that process of, picking a brief. Maybe we went to the Tune Find. That was it.
That's
right?
Perfect. Yeah.
It's a good thing I wrote it down right there.
That is perfect. Yeah.
So maybe we went to Tune Find and we were like, okay, I'm just picking that brief right there. What's a good tip for sitting down? Do you tend to tell people like, give yourself a couple hours, give yourself more time than that, give yourself less time than that, and practice like, here's an exercise to just knock something out so that you did something?
Give yourself 1 hour. Write a chorus and a verse. No judgment. Right. Now, don't go and edit it. I'm not asking you to turn it in. I'm not asking you to go and you have to record it. You have to send it to so-and-so. Just write a chorus and a verse. And don't worry about the self-editing. Just don't judge it. And also allow yourself to be clear. I'm trying to write a song about, write it down on your notebook or Google Doc in one sentence. This first one is going to say this, and then this chorus is going to say this. So as you're constructing, if you have that critical voice of like, I don't know, well, what did I say I want the chorus to be about? Oh, coming back home. Oh, about moving on. Oh, about, you can go back to that one sentence.
Yeah.
Does it work for that sentence? Yeah, it does. Or it's like, I'm kind of trailing off. Beautiful. Now you're kind of giving yourself some guardrails.
That's actually, you know what that reminds me of? That's what David Lynch talked about.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, not specifically in the same context.
Yeah.
But he would talk about, in his book, Catching the Big Fish, he talks about the importance of your starting idea. And to me, in a recording session, that is keep going back to the demo tape. Make sure you remember to listen to the demo tape before you start just recording and setting everybody up, because you don't want to get, or like if you're mixing, it's like keep going back to the rough mix. Does it still have that magic of the rough, or did you lose something? We just talked about that yesterday with Pat Sansone.
Yeah.
But the with David Lynch, it was like you can get pulled so off track, and especially in like a film production or something. It's like there's so many people involved, and they're trying.
So many different cooks in the kitchen, all over the place. Yeah,
season's dead. We don't have any money. Oh, now we got more money, all the money in the world, whatever. And it's like always referencing that initial nugget of an idea, the dream that happened, those first sentences. So it's cool to hear you say that too. It's like have that benchmark that you can keep checking back with. It's like the tuner.
Yeah, it
you
really
need a tuner for your project, right?
Just do one, and that's it. If you can do that every other day, that's awesome, because now we're starting to build a flow. And the reason I like chorus and verse is, if you got a chorus verse, you can get a second verse. You can get it.
Yeah.
You've got, in most cases, it's usually we're doing half the length of the first verse anyway. So it's going to be half that. There we go. That's perfect. That's all you need to do. You're going to get on a better creation schedule. And you're now giving yourself some guardrails. And that's what I like to think sync is, with all these, we're talking about briefs and all these different ideas. They're just guardrails. Guardrails can twist and turn. It can move you all over the place. But at the end of the day, they're just meant to make sure you stay on the road. Otherwise, you're going to, go off track. And a lot of writers are writing without guardrails. And then they, crash the car, it goes over. And it's like, no, why? Well, there was a pretty wide turn you were making there. And, well, there was no guardrail.
Are you recording your own music or other people's music in your studio, but you're having trouble figuring out how to get your mixes to sound great? Do they sound weak and distant or lack punch and clarity? Well, I've got a gift for you to help you take your mixes from sounding like basement demos to sounding a lot more like professional mixes. And it's my free course called Mix Master Bundle. This course will show you how to get pro-sounding mixes from your home studio with free and stock plugins in Pro Tools. And the best part is, these mixing techniques will work for you in any DAW, whether you're in Logic, Cubase, PreSonus Studio One, Reaper, or anything you can think of. Are you ready to make your best record ever? Then go to mixmasterbundle.com to get started for free now, and you can find the clickable link in the show notes of this episode. Now, do you have people that come to you for songwriting for guitar that don't necessarily want to do sync, and they just want to sort of write their own music?
Absolutely.
And just write for writing's sake and just be better at it? So then what becomes some guardrails in that instance? Like, because sometimes don't you want to just go through that like impressionistic stage of thinking and just like capturing nuggets of ideas? Is there an earlier stage before you know quite what the song is about? What thoughts do you have about that?
I think for someone that maybe isn't interested in sync but want to release their own project, or they just want, sometimes it's just releasing an EP. We have lots of people that are, I want to complete this because I always said I would, and I never did.
Yeah.
And like, there's a point now to where it's like the voice of, oh, what if you finished it, was getting so loud. I can't ignore that. Right. So I really have to do something now, but I am so stuck. I don't know where to start. The first thing I think all our coaches do well, and it's the one thing that I have to remind myself for any whether I'm starting here or there, is what is the horizon line that I'm measuring my ideal with? A lot of us are measuring ideals that are not our ideals, but other people. So it's just like I'm measuring this ideal of, if I compare myself to Ryan Tedder's ideal, I'm going to feel like crap because he's a different level of writer. He's like so here and I'm here. Both are good in their own sense, but if I'm going by his ideal, I'm just going to be like, I'm awful. So if we can go at the very beginning, think about what's the ideal that we want to set. And then so that we have an idea of what to measure.
Yeah.
You're going to feel better. So if your ideal is like, well, for me, success is like finishing this EP as 3 songs. And then afterwards, I can play a show at the venue down my street.
Yeah.
I'd feel great about that. Great. Now that's our horizon line. That's what we're measuring. That's the metric that we're measuring. And you're no longer going on, well, I looked at TikTok and well, do I have to do this dance? And no, you don't have to. I saw at the Grammys, Benson. Yeah. It's like,
boy, man, I'll tell you, that's the biggest relief I've had all day.
I think that is.
I was so worried about having to do that dance.
It's a weird metric, and I think it's
the one where you looks like your foot's not ever touching the ground. You know that dance?
No, you see, we have TikTok, and I just film things and then it's posted. It's like, I try to spend as little, but that's because it's a weird metric.
Yeah.
And if that's your view of what it takes to get your song out there, you're never going to feel like you're measured
plus it's
up.
copycat.
Yeah.
We don't have to really be copycat. We can do something that is, we can honor our own voice and our own originality.
Yeah.
Even by going through the process of, referencing a framework that in that respect, it's, the framework might be copied, but the actual thing that we're doing, it doesn't have to be a copycat. The dance is a great version of that. We don't have to learn the dance.
That's a big thing I'm doing. I run a small little monetized producer program that's just a couple of producers that want to just make money. But we're talking about that thing right there, using a song as framework, but comparing it to, if you make a cake and you tell me it's chocolate, you can decorate it any way you want. You can write happy birthday, happy, it's your bar mitzvah. It's just, it's your wedding. You can decorate, you can literally put anything you want in there. At the end of the day, it still has to taste like a chocolate cake.
Right.
That's the framework. So if you tell me that, then it needs to be. That's to me a reference. It needs to just adhere to some of those rules, but you can still find your voice. You can still do you.
Right.
It's still be you. And that to me is the most important thing.
So don't claim that you're delivering chocolate and show up with vanilla. That's what you're saying.
You see, I love vanilla. I'm much more vanilla. If you showed up with vanilla, I would be thrilled. We can go to...
Vanilla is Thrilla.
Oh, we can go to Sunflower Bakehouse.
By the way, vanilla is Thrilla.
It could be.
Nothing's more Thrilla than vanilla.
I was going to say, we're not far. We could go to the bakehouse after this, Sunflower Bakehouse. Oh.
I quit eating baked foods, though.
I know you're doing the raw.
I'm doing the raw thing.
I'll eat the cupcake for you. You get one.
Put a cupcake on top of your acai bowl. How's that? Okay, awesome. So let me pivot to this.
Yeah.
Actually, one more question related to that idea. Mm-hmm. Let's say even earlier than that, even before that grand vision. Let's just say we're at the beginning where we're just like, I just want to. I'm not doing enough creating, and I just want to practice writing some lyrical bits or something like that, 10 minutes a day. Have you discovered, or do you have any thoughts as a coach for like, here's a good practice for just like how to, let's just assume 10 minutes isn't enough time to go look for the brief or something like that. It's just like, great, try this little thing. Here's some, here's word games to play. Here's practices.
Julian Cameron's The Artist's Way. I love that book. I read that all the time.
I still need to read it. I gotta go read it now.
But you said 10 minutes, and she calls it morning pages.
Right.
And I think that is a great way. So when you first get up, you know what? I'm also not even like tied to the morning, like whatever work, because everybody's work schedules are different. Yeah. Some people are morning people, some people are evening people. It's just a conscious 10 minutes a day you carve out. and you just grab a pencil or pen and, book or your laptop, and you just write for 10 minutes. It's a stream of consciousness, not judging. Because what you'll find is at the beginning, you're going to be so judgmental. You're going to hold back on what you're writing. You go, oh, that's not good. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. And then before you know it, by week 2, you're filling up pages and pages because you're less self-conscious. That's a great starter. But I think that book is by far one of my favorite.
Thank you for being loud, Daisy. Okay. She's scratching her ear at like 95 decibels. So now, do we find it useful to take those kind of pages or the stuff we're writing and be able to look back at them to pull nuggets of ideas? Like maybe we said something really poetic, a metaphorical or something like that. Would you encourage people to sometimes go back and pull and edit from that, grab little chorus nuggets or something?
Sure. I think that might be a good idea. And it may also indicate what you tend to focus on, because you may be thinking you're writing about all these different things, and then you go back and you read and you're like, oh, wow, I'm really focused and fixated on this.
How many problems
I have. Who knows all the problems?
I'm really not doing this and not doing that.
It might be, or you may just discover, man, I'm just like all over the place. I'm not focused. And that may suddenly make you go like, oh, you start seeing it in other areas of your life.
Yeah.
You realize that you start something and then you don't finish. You start and you realize, oh, I'm always jumping task to task. It may just give you an awareness of more of who you are.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's great about creativity. That's the whole idea too. It's bringing a conscious awareness of who we are, because we're consistently changing beings.
Yeah. Man, you should write a book on this. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't you already?
I did write a book on it. I did write a book.
I had forgotten that after our last episode.
Yeah, that's a great example. There's a free download that's just my book on just how to get started and more consistent, intentional playing.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. And if people are curious to check that out, it's just at
songwritingforguitar.com, and they can download that free resource. And I include the Audible version too, because I love reading and I enjoy listening. I feel like it sinks in a little bit better.
Right on. I find stuff like that to be so helpful too. It's like, I went down to Costa Rica to go write songs myself, and I had downloaded, writing exercises for 14 days.
Yeah.
And apologies to the creator because I'd forgotten her name, who made it. But even just that, it's like, mixing metaphors and stuff like that, having these just little exercises.
My friend Judy Stakey is really big on that too.
Maybe that was her.
Yeah, it probably was. Fantastic. Senior creative VP at Warner Chappell for years, found people like Sheryl Crow.
Yeah.
Work with Carrie Perry. She is just a whiz when it comes to deep dive lyrical exercises, but just.
And that's what I need,
finding the authenticity, the things that you're actually
frontier for me.
She will just say a question to someone that I'm like, oh, the lyric's pretty good. And she'll just say something, a question. We suddenly get to really what they're talking about. And then that little nugget says more than the 4 lines that are right there.
Wow.
That's just someone on your team that's better at an area that I'm not. And that's what I love about Judy. So.
Right on. And so once again, you have actually a whole team of coaches for this stuff. So let the rock stars know more about that. Like if somebody's really curious about this or they need help with something, what do they go do?
So all they have to do is just go to songwritingforguitar.com and then just click coaching and then just fill out a form. And then you just hop on a call, and we just call it a foundations call, which is just understanding where you're at so that we can pair you with the best coach that matches right where you are, so that you're not forced into, we got to give you Dave because Dave doesn't have.
You go to the music school,
it's just
store, and they got but this is the teacher.
This is the teacher for the slot that you want. No, our goal is to make sure that you're aligned with the coach, because when that happens, you're able to make great headway and actually have a great relationship and end up creating things you enjoy, as opposed to being just forced into some sort of plan that doesn't work.
That's cool, man. Well, dude, it's been a pleasure having you here on the podcast again. I feel like we covered all kinds of good stuff again. Did we leave anything out that we forgot?
No, I think we just have to do an episode that's just our vegan recipes. We'll just go through and we'll just do just all the different things that we tend to make especially now that you're doing raw vegan, I'm like, ooh, I bet you have tons of good recipes.
I'm learning new ones. It's just starting. Actually, I gotta, just remembered, I gotta go rinse my sprouts.
Oh, I'm on a sprouts kick as well. I love
Are you
sprouts.
really?
I love any salad that I make. Sprouts are everywhere.
Yeah. So this is the first ones I've ever made. So I better not mess them up.
Highly underrated sprouts.
Rockstars, thanks for joining us. And if you're listening to this, please come on over to The Light and come see us in video, because we're in the video studio now here at Ready to Rock Studios, right there. Ready to Rock. And if you enjoyed it, like the video, because it's going to actually help more people see this as well, because that's how it works with the algorithms and the robots and all that stuff. And then if you subscribe, you'll get more of this on, you'll get notified and all that. And let's see, what questions do you have for the Rockstars? So I'm always encouraging people to drop a comment in to what would be a good question that you'd love to hear an answer to.
What's the one thing that holds you back in your songwriting?
Boom. Dude, thanks for being here, man.
This was great. I loved it.
We'll see you soon, man. I'll look forward. Maybe we'll go get lunch now or something if we can. All right. Cheers. Thanks so much for listening to Recording Studio Rockstars. If you enjoyed the show and want to help make it better, then please share this episode with your friends on social media and leave a rating and review on iTunes to help the podcast reach more rock stars like yourself. You can click directly over to iTunes or go to rsrockstars.com/review for an easy explanation. And remember to hit the subscribe button to keep up with weekly episodes. And if you're ready to make your best record ever now, then head over to Recording Studio Rockstars Academy, where you can start with my free course at mixmasterbundle.com. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks for being a rock star. I'm Lyd Shaw, and this is Recording Studio Rockstars. Now, go make great music. Recording Studio Rockstars would like to give a big thank you to our fantastic sponsors who make this episode possible. iZotope, Native Instruments, SAE Institute, Spectra 1964, Grace Design, and Picker. Check out the Spectra 1964 website for factory direct budget-saving prices on the STX 600, 100, 100D, and BBDI DirectBox. Check out my studio profile on the Picker app on iPhone or Android, and remember to take advantage of our special coupon code ROCK10 for 10% off any plugin purchase at iZotope.com or nativeinstruments.com. And don't forget, you can start mixing right now with my free course at mixmasterbundle.com. If you enjoyed Recording Studio Rockstars, please check out our sponsors using the links in the show notes below. These are all things I highly recommend for your studio. They're going to help you make your best record ever. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because it's a great way to help support this show. And I'd also like to thank our fantastic team here at Recording Studio Rockstars, Vlad Weselchenko and Daria Tupesis. Thanks so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.